first of all, we all pretty much have the same gear on, but we do have variations. We start out with you would turn around up here. We've got a knapsack. I've got what's called a hobo roll. There's another method that you don't see here, it's called a horseshoe collar. We probably see you more seeing it in more photographs, you like to roll up over your shoulder. I've tried the knapsack. They're very cumbersome, they're uncomfortable, and I understand why they threw them off the side of the road. I've also tried the horse collars. They're very hot against the chest, especially during the summer. I don't like wearing it that way either. So I'll roll mine up into a short roll, or what's called a hobo roll. That's where we keep all of our personal belongings, letters from home, pictures, extra socks, shirts, things like that. We keep it separate from these are haversacks, because in here we keep our cooked and uncooked food, as well as our dishes and plates like that. So we don't want our extra clothes or personal items in there with them. Right? Space. Some of the equipment they have that I don't. This is the cartridge box. Keep all the ammunition. In the cartridge box, they carry 40 rounds. Two of these tins. There's another one in there also. So they have 10 rounds on the top here, 10 on the bottom. Same with the other one. If they run out of ammunition on the field, they have to rotate, take these tins out of the box, move ammunition from the bottom up to the top. Sometimes the unit's pulled out of the line to do it, but most of the time they're having to do that while they're under fire. This example of one of the cartridges that they would have had in the cartridge box, and this is just a blank, it's just black powder. It's about the size of a regular cartridge. In this, besides the black powder, is a 58 caliber mini ball. Soft lead, very slow trajectory. A lot of people think that the amputations during the Civil War because they didn't know how to restructure bone. Actually, they did know how to do it, but when this hits you, it's like putting a coin on a railroad track. It tends to flatten out and just keep going. Show you a little bit of the difference of what I'm talking about. This is a modern M16 round. Maybe hard for you to actually see it. And most of this is just the cartridge and the black powder. When this hits you, it'll either go through the bone or tends to ricochet around the body before going out. So a Civil War bullet, you can see the size difference between the two. When a Civil War bullet hits the bone, it goes completely through the bone and takes all the bone out with it. So there was no bone left to put back together. Quite a big size difference, isn't it? These rifles, they're trained to fire these rifles 3 times in 1 minute. I've been doing it for about 20 years and I still can't do it that fast. I'll show you how all the different processes to do that. Here's a muzzle loader, percussion. What I mean by percussion, this is a small cap. Works a lot like the cap of a modern toy cap gun. Got a little piece of fulminated mercury in it. So it's put on the cone here. And from here there's a small channel that goes down into the barrel and sets off the powder for it to fire. So they place this on the nipple cone, pull it back to full cock, and then it's ready to fire. Right? Face. This is a normal bayonet for these, it's an infield and a Springfield. They're able to put on the end of the barrel. It sits off to the side so they can still fire the musket while it's on there. This was used for hand-to-hand combat, usually when they first engaged each other. This will wound a man. However, what's more effective than using this bayonet in combat is the butt of these muskets. That plate right there, this will wound. That will shatter a skull. In addition, when you get thousands of men close together, you don't have room to swing these muskets. They resorted to actual fists, rocks, full canteens, anything they could get their hands on. Now besides fighting, what do you think some uses for this might be?
Cooking.
Cooking, do put some meat on it, hold over the fire. Digging. I've used it actually to dig fire pits. They would use them to dig trenches. Anything else?
Stabbing.
Well, besides that, he's all into the killing. Any other ideas?
Hunting.
I'm sorry?
Hunting.
Well, hunting to a point, but not really.
Shaving?
I'm sorry?
Shaving?
No, not with
No.
this. Not really known for being sharp, it's just pierce for the point on it. Works great as a candle holder. I've done that myself. And one of the most gruesome uses for it is after a battle, there's thousands of bodies to bury, especially during the summer. Thousands of extra muskets and bayonets laying around. I'm sure most of you have seen what a deer looks like on the side of the road in the middle of August. Well, to bury all these bodies, they take the extra bayonets, bend them into hooks, hook those into the bodies, and drag them to the graves. See a lot of the women going.
Which is why they didn't have
What do you think the
women
most
fighting.
important item of equipment that we have on is? Any ideas?
Weapons.
Well, the weapons are important, but
Canteen?
canteen, yes ma'am. Water is important. Quite often they were very low on water. They get to a creek or stream, of course, great place to fill up on the water. Only problem is they didn't have a very good idea of hygiene. So upstream, there's guys doing other things in the water. That's how a lot of diseases were passed along. And that disease killed more people than bullets during the war. We'll show you a couple different ways that they fired. Stitching, detail. Shoulder, arm. Left wheel, march. Other left. Forward, march. Left wheel, march. Up. Load. What they have to do to load it each time is take a cartridge out, tear the cartridge open with their teeth, pour the powder down the barrel, push the ball into the end of the barrel, take the ramrod out, ram the ball all the way down to the bottom, take the ramrod, put it back, and then put one of those caps that I mentioned. Now they're ready to fire. Imagine doing that 3 times in 1 minute. In a minute I'll get them to load and fire as fast as they can, and you'll see we don't quite do it 3 times in a minute. This is going to be a very small representation of what fire on a battlefield will be like. It will be loud, so you want to cover your ears. But also try to imagine there being thousands of men in a line, shoulder to shoulder like this, order arms. That method came from, at that time, all the casualties you hear about. Before that, they had smoothbore muskets. I'm sure you've heard the term, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. That comes from a smoothbore musket. Okay, if I had one and I aimed at this tree right here, it might hit that tree. It might hit the pavilion over there. It might hit a window in the house over here. So the idea was to get as many men shoulder to shoulder as possible to throw as much lead across the battlefield. Quite often with the smoothbores you had to get 50, 40 yards away for it to be really effective. So fast forward to the Civil War, now you've got rifled muskets. And these are accurate up to 800, 900 yards. A trained sharpshooter with a scope could kill with one of these rifles at close to a mile. But you're still using the Revolutionary War tactics of standing shoulder to shoulder. So that's why the casualty rates during the Civil War were so much higher. when the company was raised, it was all raised from the same community. We numbered about 100 men. So you were joining up with, anybody served in modern military? Anybody? There, okay. You, sir? I'm sure you got close to the guys that are in your unit, people that are in your unit. Well, during the Civil War, I did the same, I was in the Army. But during the Civil War, you joined up with your family members, your father, your brothers, your uncles, your childhood friends, people you grew up with. That's who you saw dying around you. And quite often after the war, very few men from the company would actually make it back to your community. So what was left was the women. The burden fell to them to take care of the community and bring it back to life. Now, the company numbered about 100 men. There were 10 companies in each regiment, 3 to 5 regiments in each brigade, 3 to 4 brigades in each division. Just keep doing the multiplication up. And it's hard to do with only 2 rifles here. But quite often the smoke was so thick on the battlefield that all they were doing was firing in flashes in the smoke. If they'd been able to hit everything and actually see everything that they're aiming at, nobody would have come home. Attention, detail. Shoulder, arms. Ready? Aim. Fire. Load. When they first engaged, quite often they would fire the whole company or fire the whole regiment. The only problem with that is now everybody in the regiment is unloaded. They fought in 2 ranks. There'd be 1 line in the front, 1 line in the back. That's also where the term rank and file came from. You got the front rank and the rear rank. And the 2 men standing there as they are is called a file. To alleviate part of the problem I mentioned earlier about having everybody unloaded at the same time, we take turns firing the rank. This time we're going to do that. We're going to fire the front rank or the rear rank first. In doing that, the front rank is still loaded and able to repel the enemy if they assault them. Fire by the rear rank. Aim. Fire. Load. I'll wait till he's almost completely loaded. The whole rank, or the whole rank itself, before it's almost loaded, before I'll fire the front rank. And again, for the same reason. So when the front rank is unloaded, the rear rank will be able to repel the enemy. Front rank. Aim. Fire. Load. Another firing that was done was called fire by file. As I said, these 2 men are a file. In the regiment, you would have several hundred of these. So we say fire by file. Each company would start firing from the right end of the company. So these two gentlemen would fire, then the next 2, then the next 2, and it rotates all the way down the line. As soon as they fire like that, then they start loading and firing as fast as they can until they hear ceasefire. Fire by file. Commence. Fire. Quickly. The whole time you're getting shot at. People are getting hit around you. Quickly, gentlemen. Difficult to imagine, but by this time there's independent fire going on all throughout the company. So the massive, you may have seen Gettysburg, Gods of Generals, we do all these massive volley fires, which look really great on film, look really impressive sometimes on a reenactment field, but most of the time those big huge volleys were only initial contact. After that it went, quite a lot of it was independent fire like you see here. Fire one more, then cease fire. Left wheel, march. Good one, left wheel, march. Halt. Order, arms. In place, rest. Anybody have any questions? They did, before the beginning of the war, they would go to different training camps. One was Camp Donald up in Kennesaw, it's one of the biggest ones in this area. There was another one down near Macon. So they did get some type of training before going out there, especially early in the war. Later in the war, they really didn't get a whole lot.